Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here. I've asked for the house lights to come on so I can see the whites of your eyes. I like to be able to see the people to whom I'm speaking. I've got two pieces of paper because I want to start talking about the idea of the mind and the brain, which to my mind are quite separate things. And when we talk about the mind, when I was a school child, it wasn't the mind we were told to use. We had to use our brains because we were encouraged not to be stupid. And it was wonderful to hear Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo talk about the fact that we were made perfect because we were told we were made sinful and that everything we did was bad, and we had to pray for forgiveness, and we had to look after our, our immortal soul. And I wasn't entirely sure where my soul was. I thought it was right here in my stomach, and that each time I did something wrong, that soul was black. And by the time I was in 6th grade, it was jet black, I'm here to tell you. So the concept of the mind and the brain, particularly when it comes to music education, I use two quotes with teachers, and I work a lot with teachers. And I start with a quote by the French essayist Michel de Montaigne, born in 1533 and died in 1592. And he says this about the mind. When the mind is satisfied, that is a sign of diminished faculties or weariness. No powerful mind stops within itself. It is always stretching out and exceeding its capacities. It makes sorties which go beyond what it can achieve. It is only half alive if it is not advancing, pressing forward, getting driven into a corner, and coming to blows. Its inquiries are shapeless and without limits. Its nourishment consists in amazement, the hunt, and the uncertainty, as Apollo made clear enough to us by his speaking, as always, ambiguously, obscurely, obliquely, not glutting us, but keeping us wondering and occupied. It is an irregular activity, never ending, without pattern or target. Its discoveries excite each other, follow after each other, and between them produce more. Extraordinary thoughts from this great essayist, who is credited with inventing the phrase, que sais-je, what would I know? Iris Murdoch, the wonderful Irish-born British author Iris Murdoch, on the educated mind. Education does not make you happy, nor does freedom. We don't become happy just because we are free, if we are, or because we've been educated, if we have, but because education may be the means by which we realize we are happy. It opens our eyes, our ears, tells us where delights are lurking, convinces us there is only one freedom of any importance whatsoever, that of the mind, and gives us the assurance, the confidence to walk the path our mind, our educated mind, offers. When we teach children music, I believe we do it for 3 reasons. We teach children music because it is good. That's enough reason, really. We also teach it because it's unique. That's another good reason. And then we teach it really so that children can make their own music. Singing, dancing, and playing musical instruments are activities, particularly singing and dancing, which human beings have engaged in for thousands and thousands of years. The concept of singing as a community is actually coming back very gradually. And we're going to find out how that happens very soon, whether you like it or not. But teaching children music is a way to their minds, their spirits, their hearts, their imaginations. There's an incredible amount of research now about music and the brain. The music has this wonderful effect on the brain, and it's hardwired, the brain is hardwired for music, and so on. All of this is really good information, but I stress it has nothing to do with why we teach music. We don't teach music so children can become good at arithmetic. We don't teach music so they can become good at geography. How many geography teachers teach geography so children can be good at music? Very few, I would imagine. So we teach music for the reasons I just said, because it's good, because it's unique, and because we give children the capacity to make their own music. I define music as organized sound which passes through time, perceived and comprehended orally, produced by voices and instruments or instruments in combination. You may wish to argue with that definition. I also define music as being abstract. It has no meaning outside itself, and it is not descriptive. Music does not describe. It's a reason, another one of the great reasons for teaching, the concept that music is abstract. So, for example, if music were really capable of describing, what am I describing? Anyone like to have a guess? But you'll all have a thought about what that music describes, or you won't have a thought at all. You may have no thought. You might just find the sound, it's interesting or it's not interesting. But the thing that is certain is it doesn't describe. Richard Strauss said it did, and he said he could describe a teaspoon in music. Now, he was spectacularly arrogant, and nobody can really describe a teaspoon in music. But one thing we are certain of is music's capacity to generate emotional response. That's a very interesting thing. How we actually quantify and qualify that emotional response is one of the great things that the neuroscientists are looking at. And I said to the great shame of a scientist friend of mine, I hope they never find it, because it means people will start to produce it and we'll have emotions on tap. But I'm going to give you an example of a piece of music which has an emotional reaction on an audience instantly. And this is it. Now that's from the fourth act of La Bohème. And it's when Mimi returns to the garret and finds Rodolfo. And the text is not a cause for emotional reaction, because the text is, have they gone? I was pretending to be asleep. I wanted to talk to you. That's not great text. But if you turn around in a theatre when that music is playing, you can hear people go, no matter how many times they've heard it. I still do. When I hear that music, I'm affected by that, and I have no idea why. And I've heard it 1,000 times, I conducted hundreds of bohems, and I still, at that moment, feel this extraordinary emotion. And Bohème is an opera about nothing. A friend of mine who hates opera described Bohème as Act 1, boy meets girl. Act 2, boy and girl go shopping. Act 3, boy and girl agree to part. Act 4, girl dies, boy cries. What's the fuss? However, it is one of those extraordinary moments in music where an emotion happens. Now, when we're teaching music to children, we don't teach it for that reason. We don't tell them they must have a reaction. That is not what we do as music teachers. What we try to do as music teachers is give them the wherewithal to make their own music from the earliest age possible. And we tend to start with text. We tend to start with nursery rhyme. This is how we generate creativity. And we might, with a group of preschool children, decide we're going to do Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. These are 2 3-year-olds. So let's say it. Go. Humpty. That's very good. Now, what we're going to do while we say it is invent some patterns with our hands and our knees. Off you go. I know this is a bit premature for the singing, but here we go. And Humpty Dumpty. Now, see if you can change that pattern. Go. Humpty. Some of you can, some of you can't, all right? And that's fine. But that's the beginning of creativity, where we encourage children to start with very simple patterns and change them. That's the beginning of thinking. And what's interesting is you're teaching kindergarten children, and you do that, and you've got a line of kindergarten children, and you'll say, who's got a different pattern? So Galen will go, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Very good, Galen. Who's got a different one? Bruce puts his hand up. Humpty Dumpty sat. That's very good, Bruce. And what about you, Charlene? Humpty Dumpty. Very good. And so it goes on until the next child says, is it nearly recess? And you know you're in the wrong profession. The point is, one day, those children will make the change. But it is giving them the vocabulary for creativity. In other words, we actually teach them things. There is a movement now in education called the student-directed lesson. I don't know any 5-year-old who could direct a lesson. They would like to. But what we have to do with teachers is give teachers back the idea that they can teach. That the educational gobbledygook that goes on about teaching, particularly the teaching of music, is quintessentially mythological. If children are going to be creative, children need to have things to think about. They need information. They need input. And they can then redirect that input in their own way. They learn vocabulary. They learn when they're finger painting, they learn about colour. And they experiment with colour. They start to make choices. They start to make selection. This is the beginning of discrimination, the beginning of wisdom. And in music, we have this incredibly rich area which is abstract. Now, you will be able to do this easily. Promise. How many notes do I play? And I'm going to do again how many notes? Some children will say 4, because 4 comes after 3. So they just count. And that's fine too. This concept, what do you notice about these notes? The concept of what we call heightened depth in sound. That takes a long time for a child to understand. The concept of clapping a rhythm back a little pattern. This, for example. Go. A lot of kindergarten children have no idea what that is, how to do that. So this idea that with music we're naturally gifted and we all sing marvelously is not true. We have potential. We have potential. And every child has potential. Every child has potential, which is why my aim in life is to see that every child in this country, in a state school, has access to sequential music education, which they currently don't. All over the country, there are thousands of children who have no music education. Now, my aim is not to give these children music education because they're going to become scientists. My aim is to give them music education because of the things I said at the front. It's good. It's unique. The bonuses are absolutely worth having. But at the moment, roughly 80% of children in Australian state schools receive no music education. Some of them receive only pop music played on a CD. Now, there's nothing wrong with pop music, but there's much more to the world than pop music. So when we're talking about children and music education, what we're really talking about is staffing schools all over the country with qualified teachers. And recently, we had a big win with the federal government. And I have been lobbying the federal government for what I'm calling a national mentoring program. And we have funding. We actually have funding now to have a mentor teacher work with 2 or 3 teachers in different schools, teaching them how to teach music. And we have interest in New South Wales, Queensland, WA, South Australia, and Tasmania. People are now starting to say, how can we be involved in this program? Now, what does this have to do with the mind and its potential? I'll tell you what it has to do with the mind and its potential. It's through music, this abstract thing we call music, that we give a child the greatest possibility to use the mind in the most creative way. It is, without doubt, the one arts area which demands a high level of focus, concentration, and intense thought. And it's from music we actually have a key to creativity. Now it's your turn. I've been told that I've got 10 minutes to sing with you. That's a good idea, isn't it? Say yes. And lots of people hate it. They hate the idea, oh my God, we're going to have community singing. Put your books away. And I'm going to do with you a warm-up that I would do with children, right? A warm-up. So here we go. After me. Today. Exactly the way I do. Today is Monday. I like Monday. It ends in a Y. Over. Only what? Look at this lady down here. She got it. Okay. She's clearly a 5th grader. All right. So here we go. Over. Use your hands. Go. Over. Hi. Woo. Ha-ha. I was doing this with a group of secondary students recently, and this is the way we started the lesson, and they looked at me like, who is this deeply geriatric idiot? But after about 2 minutes, they started to get it. They really started to enjoy it. And I said to them, where might you practice something like this? And this kid said, in secret. And I said, no, you practice it in the supermarket. I said, I always do. For example, when I'm in the supermarket, I always go, woo! And everybody moves away. And then when I get to the checkout, I go, ha, ha, ha! And I'm always dealt with first. Anyway, we went on and we had our singing, etc., etc., etc. So about 3 months later, I'm in Marrickville supermarket. And right at the back of the supermarket, I hear, woohoo! And it was some of these kids. So obviously I went, woohoo! And then over the tannoy came security check on aisle 5. So we were a threat. Okay, so we've done our speech warm-up. Let's do a rhythm warm-up. Here's a little pattern. Oh. Here's the pattern again. Do you know that's not right? What are you doing? A little bit of the I'm over. Next, please. All right? It doesn't finish. Listen again, guys. Listen. What do we have to do? This is what I say to children. What do we have to do? We have to listen. We have to watch and listen. What do we do, Kindy? We watch and listen. Except for Bruce, right? And Bruce is one of those kids you meet all the time. He's in the class and he goes, doesn't clap, doesn't sing, doesn't do anything. And then you say one day, you say, Bruce, I have no idea where you are, but it's obviously fabulous. So if you could come and join us for a moment, that'd be great. And Bruce goes, and off he goes. I love those kids. They do turn around. Here's another one. Go. Now we're going to try a cannon. So I'm going to use my hands, clapping, then I'll go to my knees. When I go to my knees, do what I did with my hands. Go. Very good. So we've done some speech, we've done some rhythm, now some voice. Here we go. And normally we would stand for this, but I can see you're very comfortable. So here we go. Day by day by day by day by day. Off we go. And. Now, if you're not certain of the pitch, just make it up. Here we go. And. Day. Let's just hear the blokes. Here we go, chaps. All the men. Go. Day. Can you hear some down here? That's seriously impressive, okay? All the boys again. And day. All the ladies. And day. Now, everybody together at a big sound. And day. And here. And. Now, in order to get the sound a little better, it's good, don't get me wrong, it's good. What we try to do is use the consonant that goes really fast, like this. Day. Do that, go. Day. That's it. So the consonant travels from here at the back very fast to the front. Day by day by day by day by day. Go. Day by day by day by day by day. I'm feeling a contract coming on. All right. Here. And day by. Now let's see if we can keep something rhythmic. We're going to go and da 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 da. Off you go and da. Very good, guys. Do you know that your brain loves that? The brain loves it. And your mind is working overtime. wondering, what on earth am I doing this for? So, say these words after me. Where is John?
Where is John?
The cows are in the corn again.
The cows are in the corn again.
Now, the second phrase is, where is John? The cows are in the corn again.
Where is John? The cows are in the corn again.
And the last phrase is, John. Here is the tune. It's a 3-part canon, and we're going to learn it in 2 minutes. Where is John? The cows are in the corn again. Go.
Where is John? The cows are in the corn again.
Where is John? The cows are in the corn again.
Where is John? The cows are in the corn again.
Oh, John! Do you see how many more of you found that note at the end? It was great. It's called the heat missile effect. You go to the person who's got the correct pitch and you stay there. Let's put it all together. Here we go. And where is... Very good. Let's try it in 3 parts. So we're going to go here, including the balcony. First part, second part, third part. And I'm expecting great things from this corner of the room. Here we go. And...
Where is John? The cows are in the corn again. Where is John? The cows are in the corn again. Where is John? The cows are in the corn again.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, I think for the first time in a 3-part canon, that was pretty interesting. So, and I like to be encouraging. Let's sing it again in unison. Here we go. Unison. And where is John? The cows
are in the corn again.
Where is John?
The cows are in the corn again.
Oh, John! Now, this will come as a bit of a shock. If you open your mouth, the sound will improve. I say that to secondary kids and they go, ooh. Like he really knows stuff. Okay, so let's open our mouths and improve the sound. Here we go. Where is John? The cow. Very good. Where is John? The cows are in the car. Oh, John! The sound's better. Let's try it in 3 parts this way. Where is John?
The cows are in the corn again.
Where is John?
The cows are in the corn again. Where is John? The cows are in the corn again. Where is John? The cows are in the corn again.
2 minutes, 45 seconds is a world record. Thank you.
By the time we're 60, more than 90% of us will have known someone close to us who has suffered from some sort of a neurological disorder.
You all know you're not going to live forever. There's only one way into this life and one way out.
I cannot prove to you anymore that anything is possible.
Talk about the marvelous thing that we now understand about our brains.
It gets so much better.